What is up, guys? Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help you guys all on your fitness journey. And today's episode is going to be more of a mindset talk. I want to talk a little bit about goal setting because I feel like goal setting it's very powerful, but also can be very demoralizing and honestly self-defeating. And I think that if people learn a better way to look at goal setting, it can actually make them way more effective at actually achieving those goals. And this is a timely time for this because we are about 2 months into the new year. And a lot of people obviously set goals in the beginning of the year, and very few actually follow through with those goals. And there's a couple of main reasons why. So first and foremost, if you guys get any value out of this episode or any of my episodes, please shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message via Facebook. I don't care. I want to hear from you. I want to know that what I'm saying is resonating with you and would love to connect. And that's why I honestly am putting this episode out here today, because I know a lot of people are probably feeling this right about now. It's like, man, I thought this year was going to be different. I thought this time was going to be different. And it's something that I'm very passionate about talking about. I fall victim to this myself sometimes. And I'm going to start by breaking down a couple of the reasons why I kind of think goal setting is, I don't want to call it BS or bullshit, but I also think that it can actually be looked at a little bit differently. So first and foremost, let's talk about goal setting. All right. So when it comes to setting goals, I think most people are so focused on setting the goal by the outcome. So it's, I want to lose weight. So their goal is set on an outcome. They're identifying the outcome of what they want to achieve. For instance, right now for myself, I want to squat 300 pounds. That is an outcome. So it's very easy to set a goal on an outcome because it's kind of like living in Wonderland. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to lose 20 pounds? Yeah, I'm going to go after that goal. Wouldn't it be nice to squat 300 pounds? Hell yeah, I'd feel strong. It feels empowering to set a goal on an outcome. But what people often neglect, and where a lot of people go wrong, is they're defining the outcome without defining the actions. And the actions is where the goal setting really comes into play. So when you guys are setting a goal, and you stop at the outcome, you stop in Wonderland, you forget about the work and the effort and the sacrifice that might happen along the way to get you there. And if you don't define the action steps, you're never going to get there because you're always going to be living in Wonderland. And it feels really nice to live in Wonderland. But the truth is, most goals require a lot of effort. And the journey needs to be enjoyable, but it also does include hard work. Hard work isn't necessarily something that we have to avoid. We just have to make sure that what we're working on hard, or that what we're working hard on, is something that we're passionate about. And I am all about self-improvement and self-development. So when you guys are setting goals, you have to think about, okay, this is what I want to achieve. What are the action steps that I need to get there? And if you start setting your goals based on the action steps, you're going to find a lot of things happen a lot differently. So how many of you can relate, if you're listening, whether it's live or you're listening post-recorded, because you know that I also do this live on YouTube, can relate to setting a goal and you're 2 weeks in, you saw a little bit of progress and the progress stalls, and now you're like, fuck it, I'm done. And you end up going back to what you were doing before. Or you just give up on it altogether. Or you tell yourself that you're going to get back to it when life clears out, and you try and wait for another period of time when you can actually do it without, or do it the right way, the perfect way. Okay. Because you got burned out by the metrics or the measures you were using to achieve that goal. And when you're measuring progress on the outcome and that outcome stops happening, so let's just call it a weight loss goal. Maybe you, like most people, in the first couple of weeks of a diet, you lose 5 pounds, and then it's going to stall out, because we know that that's not just, obviously fat, that's mostly water. And then you're like frustrated and you're like, well, this must not be working because the scale's not moving anymore. And so you associate that outcome with the fact that you're not getting the results that you want. When in reality, if you set the goal on the action steps that you're committing to, the outcome happens if you stay committed to those things long enough. And this is where, even in my coaching, I don't take anybody on in my coaching program for less than a 6-month commitment. Why? because I don't want people that are not attached to the action steps and only the outcome. And I know that in order to get them that outcome, I need a lot more than a couple of weeks. So it just doesn't happen. I don't do any one-off macro calculations. I don't do any of that stuff because it's not going to help anybody. And it's only going to make me invest too much of my time and energy into something that's not invested enough of their own time and energy into themselves. And I want to invest my time and energy in people that are willing to invest their time and energy in themselves. So we've got to define the action steps necessary to achieve that outcome. If I want to squat 300 pounds, guess what? I've got to take the cardio down. I've got to put some size on, and I've got to be training legs and being able to recover from the amount of legs that I'm doing. So it's really important to also assess the action steps. And as I mentioned, when I talked about that person that started something for 2 weeks, I mentioned starting something that's not sustainable. Okay. So you have to think about how much you're willing to sacrifice, what you're willing to do to put into that goal, and how realistic is that for you to actually be able to achieve in that timeline. Okay. So this is going to go into one of the topics, or one of the main reasons, or one of the main things I want you guys to get out of this is there's something called SMART goals, and it's an old acronym that I'm going to go over today, but it works really well if you think about your goals this way. Even if you don't spend the time writing it down, but just actually take time to think about your goals more so outside of just like, I want to lose weight today. Well, that's great. Well, how much weight do you want to lose? Okay, so here's the deal is SMART goals, S starts for specific, okay? That means that the goal that you're setting has a specific metric. So I want to lose weight isn't very specific. I want to cut the junk food out of my diet isn't very specific. If I say, I would like to lose 20 pounds, now that's specific. I would like to stop eating donuts for breakfast. I would like to start cooking at home more, or I would like to cook at home the majority of my week. Those are now more specific things that we can measure, which is part 2, measurable. S is for specific, M is for measurable. Okay. So this is going to be something that you can actually measure. Can you see the progress? Well, if I am trying to lose 20 pounds, I can measure my progress along the way by doing that. I can, if I'm trying to improve my consistency in the gym, I can set a number of workouts a month that I want to hit, and I can check a box every time that I hit that workout. There are very measurable ways for me to actually, achieve those goals and make sure that I'm sticking to them. Okay. The next one is going to be attainable. Is it actually something that I can take action on? Is it something that I have the, not only the desire to, but the actual resources to actually make it happen? Very, very, very important for you guys to realize it has to be something you can commit to. For me to say that I'm going to just, not do any cardio, I know that I'm not going to be consistent with that. I like the way CrossFit feels. I'm not going to get that all together. So I have to think about, I have to put that into play with my timeline. Okay. Is it relative? So is it relative to where you are in your life? Is it relative to your, current lifestyle? So if you're like, man, I really want to, be at the gym 6 days a week, but you also are working a full-time job, juggling a side hustle, dealing with 3 kids, and you're barely making it there twice a week, probably not really, really relative to you. And then is it time bound? So do I have a way to actually measure the timeline on it? So now I've got a specific way of setting a goal. You don't have to get too far in the weeds on any of those things. The most important thing I'm going to tell you is that it should have a specific measure, and you should have a timeline, and you want to make sure that the path you're taking to achieve that is going to be something that you can actually handle. So when it comes to specific goals, let's just call it fat loss. All right. It's really easy to get hung up in the first couple of weeks and the first month, but you have to look beyond that. And so if the goal is fat loss, all right, we have to think about all the things we have to change in our life that are causing us to gain weight or holding us back from losing the weight that we have on. So is it that, you are constantly relying on restaurant food? Is it that you are not going to the gym very often? Is it that you're not, getting enough movement in your day? Is it that you just are eating whatever you want and not paying attention to it? Is it that you maybe aren't eating enough food? Like, where do you have to find, the little things that you have to fix, and which marbles, I'm going to call them, are going to matter most? And if you guys start to focus on those things, you will now be able to make more progress. And it might be looking at, all right, I know that right now I have a lot of things that I have to fix in my nutrition, but I think that the first thing that I commit to is I'm going to stop eating out. I'm going to start cooking my meals at home, and I'm going to start with that. Now that we have one thing under our belt, we can go on to the next thing. All right, I'm cooking at home. Now I'm going to start making sure that I'm getting in enough protein at every meal. And now we're actually building something. And what's so cool about this is that people get so hung up, and I'm just keeping this, specific to fat losses, get so hung up in the scale and how fast things are moving, where they don't think about how fast are you taking action? How fast are you jumping into the things that you need to do to change your life? That's what matters most. And that's why if you're only setting your goals and the outcome, you're missing the freaking success of actually sticking to the commitments that you make to yourself. So if you're like, you know what, this month I am only eating out 2 meals a week. And for the whole month, you only ate out 2 meals a week. Guess what? At the end of that month, you have been successful. You have achieved a goal. You've achieved a goal that you hit for yourself. Let's just say your goal is 4 workouts a week for the next 4 weeks. When you hit that goal, you've achieved that goal. Those things are going to get you closer to the outcome if they are in line with the things that you are missing to achieve that outcome. But if you're only focusing on the outcome, you miss experiencing the success of actually doing hard work. And that actually makes the hard work more gratifying. So if you guys are trying to achieve goals such as fat loss, such as, getting better sleep, whatever your goals are, getting better at skills in the gym, being able to build some muscle, and you're finding yourself constantly struggling with commitment because you're hung up on how the end result is going to feel, you're missing the way it feels to be successful at sticking to the commitments that you make to yourself. Okay. So a little bit of a shorter episode today, but I really wanted to talk a little bit about setting goals and actually making those goals more relevant to where you are and actually more achievable. So yes, the end outcome still can be there. And we want to make sure that we are measuring progress towards that outcome with every action we're taking, which, by the way, I should probably segue into. I was about to cut off there, but this is where you have to make sure that the plan that you have in place is actually going to be a plan that gets you there. And you don't really know that all the time up front, but you have to have trust in that program. And that's why I do believe when it comes to fat loss, that you should be taking a more serious approach. It shouldn't be I'm just going to remove X from my diet, or I'm just going to start to do this low calorie thing, or I'm just going to start to, do tons of cardio. Like, there should be an actual, measurable way for you guys to actually see that, hey, this is what I'm doing right now, and this is what I need to adjust in order to get me closer to that goal. So I won't go into all those details because I do want to keep this episode somewhat short. So if you are looking to make changes, specifically with fat loss, and you are only setting your goals on the end outcome, take a step back. And what I want you guys to think about today is, what action steps do I need to take in order to get me there? And it might be that I have no idea where to start. This is not a plug for coaching, but also a plug for you guys to reach out to me, because if you do need help figuring out a plan for you, I definitely want to be able to help you guys out with that. I offer free consultation calls, clarity calls, whatever you want to call them, because I do like people to get an understanding, like, hey, here's where you're at, and here's where I think we can take you. We also do full assessments as well. If you want me to do an assessment on you, I can tell you that as well. But what I want you to leave with today is that don't beat yourself up if you end up finding yourself constantly stopping working towards your goals after 2 weeks in. It likely just means that you need to shift your focus. And instead of focusing on committing to the goal, let's commit to the action steps needed to achieve that goal. And you will be more successful in the long run. Short episode. I will talk to you all in the next one.